Terrorism is a card that can have a big impact in a game of Twilight Struggle. It will take some skill to use it well, however, so we'll take a look at it in depth today, here on Legendary Tactics. The Terrorism card is one that you are always happy to have in hand and hate to have your opponent play against you. Its enhanced effect is especially nasty for the US, and both sides will need to play it competently. Let's take a closer look at it. First of all, let's look at the event. Terrorism is a 2-op late war neutral event card. Triggering this event causes your opponent to randomly discard one card. If this event is triggered by the USSR and the Iranian Hostage Crisis event is in effect, the US player must randomly discard 2 cards. The events on the discarded cards do not occur. Please note that the Iranian Hostage Crisis event, once played, remains in effect for the entire game. It is not spent or cancelled by the Terrorism card, and so the US must be especially careful. It is entirely possible for the enhanced Terrorism card effect to happen more than once. For either player, this event is pretty good. While you can play this card for the operations points, the event effect is generally going to more than outweigh the benefit provided by those ops. This event is generally going to be solid, hopefully forcing your opponent to drop one of their great events, a scoring card in a region favorable to them, or a neutral high ops card onto the discard pile. This card can even win you the game if you force your opponent to play, for example, a DEFCON suicide card that they are unable to hold on to and carry over to the next turn because their hand size has been reduced. This is especially useful if your opponent does not hold the China card and therefore cannot mitigate their smaller hand size. The only downside is that sometimes your opponent will end up discarding a card that could have benefited you, like a scoring card in a region that you dominate or one of your unmitigatable events. If you have an inkling that it might be the case that your opponent has that kind of card, you may want to hold off until next round or use the Terrorism card for ops. The Terrorism event can be especially deadly if you combine it with other cards that reduce your opponent's hand size, like Aldrich Ames Remix, Grain Sales to Soviets, or 5-Year Plan. And if the Iranian Hostage Crisis event is in effect, the USSR will almost always take this for the event. No matter how you get there, if your combo can force your opponent to discard 2 or even 3 cards, that will be painful in the extreme. This is especially true because it's likely you will get to take a few consecutive action rounds that your opponent will be unable to answer, as they will have an empty hand. And if you can pull this off in turn 10, even better. As far as when to play it, there are really 2 good options. The first is that you play it early in your turn, possibly as a headline. This will give you a chance to potentially force your opponent to lose a favorable event or scoring card, or even to drop an event of yours that they were planning to send to the space race, denying them that benefit. The second is that you can play it for the event late in the turn, especially if you feel your opponent is building up to score a region or perhaps is holding on to a great card until the end of the turn for some reason. The only real defense you have against this card is the China card, which effectively expands your hand. The good news is that you are likely hanging on to the China card anyway at this point in the game, especially to have an impact on turn 10. Arguably, you could also use something like Salt Negotiations to restore your hand size as well, although that is much more situational and more of a lucky break than anything else. So in summary, Terrorism is a card that you will generally take for the event, as forcing your opponent to discard a card and shrink their hand size is always a good idea. Hang on to the China card to defend against it, especially if you are holding a card in hand that you really don't want to play. This has been our analysis of the Terrorism card in Twilight Struggle. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you got some value out of this video, and if you did, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe down below. This is Legendary Tactics.